don't forget who did this shit first, yeah. I'ma be this way to in a hearse, yeah. Hey, I'ma get up in it, yeah. Let them butterfly doors when I get you.
What's up, guys? Trilogy here. Today we're gonna be ranking all 7 Phase 4 movies. This isn't gonna include any of the TV shows, just movies. I'm Trilogy. This is my channel. We do movies, gaming, all kinds of contents like that, reading, books, fantasy, D&D. It's a melting pot. I've curated playlists on my channel, so you can definitely check that out. You know what you're here for. With that said, I really hope you subscribe, comment down below. What are your favorite movies from Phase 4, if there are any? And with that said, let's jump into it. Number 7, gonna be Eternals. This movie is pretty rough by anyone's standard. Even super fans aren't necessarily a fan of this movie. 10 brand new characters are added, all at once, eased in there. I, for one, was not a big fan of how they used Salma Hayek's character. I really like Salma Hayek as an actress. She's really funny. As the plot twist wasn't too much of a plot twist. If you really paid attention, you could clue it together. Watching this movie, I wouldn't rewatch this movie. I only rewatched it because I binged all the Marvel movies with my girlfriend, so we had to watch it. But I don't ever see myself sitting down and saying, hey, let's watch the Eternals. Although some of the characters do stand out. The mute character, Mercury, who can run super fast, she's interesting. And her love, little will they, won't they with Druig is interesting. The powers of some of the characters are really interesting. But overall, it just doesn't mesh together for me as far as the plot goes. And it doesn't really have too many overarching consequences on the world of the MCU Universe 616. Up next, number 5, we're gonna have Black Widow. This movie is about 10 years too late to boot on top of everything else. But besides the outright butchering of Taskmaster, one of the best street level or country level, you know, low-key villains in comic books. He can copy anyone's fighting style. And although in the movie they did do this a little bit with his mimicry, he did have the Black Panther claws, he had the Hawkeye bow, he had the Captain America shield. This was all cool until they turned out and made the Taskmaster a woman, which I don't mind a gender build, but a woman in like a robot suit, no, that just didn't work for me. Now, if it was just like a regular woman, you know, in a Taskmaster themed costume, not like a robot suit with, I don't know, maybe I'm just biased, but I really did not like the execution of Taskmaster in this movie. Like I said, the movie is 10 years too late. The addition of some of the Black Widow's family, like the Red Soldier or whatever his name is, he's all right. And then Yelena, Florence Pugh's character, is the best part of this movie. She is a highlight of this movie. Up next, we're going to be going to number 5. This is going to be Thor: Love and Thunder. Sorry. Number 4 is going to be Thor: Love and Thunder. Honestly, after the high that was Ragnarok, I thought it was going to be impossible for Thor: Love and Thunder to exceed what I thought was peak Thor in Thor Ragnarok. And I was right. Even though we had the same director, same cast members, same characters, the plot just didn't hit as much as the other one. Gore the God Butcher sounds pretty deep, although I will admit I was not super familiar with his comic lore. He was a new villain for me. I had heard of him, but I didn't know anything about him besides he had a sword and he was a Thor villain. And honestly, I didn't research anything about him either, because since I didn't know anything, for once, I wanted to go in and be surprised about a character. Like, usually I'll be like, oh yeah, that's that. And I know everyone's like civilian names and everything. Flint Marko is the Sandman. Eddie Brock is gonna be Venom. I know these things, but I didn't know anything about Gore the God Butcher. And I thought it would be exciting to sit there and watch the movie without knowing anything. And based off of what I saw, it wasn't horrible, but I did expect more based off of all the hype I heard from him as a comic book character. And his sword didn't do much. It was cool seeing the other gods in space. That was cool. That was really cool. But overall, like everyone says, this movie was probably just too funny. Whereas even the older movies, even though they were still trying to figure out how they wanted to characterize Thor, the overall feeling of the movie was very consistent, whether it was dark fantasy or medieval or space comedy like Ragnarok was. And the pace, the mood of this movie is just kind of all over the place. And that's why I have to put it here. Even though if we were ranking like all of the MCU movies, this would probably still be on the top half of MCU movies. But as far as Phase 4 go, I know a lot of people have hated it, but there's quite a few good movies out of this phase, out of these 7 movies that I do see myself rewatching. Up next, speaking of rewatching, I've seen this movie a couple times. This is going to be Shang-Chi and the Legends of the Ten Rings. I think the Ten Rings are cool. I like that we're finally getting some information on where that technology came from. I thought it came from the other dimension. You know, they were talking about the dragon that killed the dimension of people who came to our dimension or whatever. But it turns out that that technology might be linked to Ant-Man somehow in the quantum realm, which would be super cool because I was kind of confused about that during that movie. I did think they killed the dragon a little too easy. I understand a lot of people died on that field, but it did feel like it was a little too easy. All they did was shoot the rings down the dragon's throat. The dragon blew up. No one thought to do that. No one thought to do that thousands of years ago or however long. But the comedy in this, Awkwafina and Simu Liu, sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, Simu, if that's wrong also, sorry. But yeah, I like this movie. I think it's a really fun romp. When I rewatched it with my girlfriend, she was not a big fan of this movie. But I personally like Shang-Chi. I would probably say it's a B tier movie overall for the MCU, even though I am ranking it at number 4. What you're probably waiting for with the release of Black Panther Wakanda Forever, that's why we're even doing this list. And Black Panther Wakanda Forever is going to be in my number 3 spot. It is hard to fill the hole that was left by Chadwick Boseman after his passing. And I do think the movie struggles to fill that hole that was left behind him. Chadwick, of course, he dies off screen because, you know, he died in real life. I guess they didn't want to do what they did with Princess Leia in The Last Jedi and just digitalize her, or how they did her in The Rise of Skywalker. Maybe he didn't want to do that. Maybe they were just trying to stick with the, hey, we're going to respect his memory. Me personally, I think they should have recasted Chadwick, and the result of us not recasting him is why we got the movie that we got. There's only so much you can do in Wakanda without Black Panther and without T'Challa. In the comic books, there are, of course, other Black Panthers, Shuri being one of the main ones, which is the route that they did in the movie, spoilers. But overall, I think this movie was still pretty good. I know a lot of people were mad that it was just, you know, a bunch of women beating up a bunch of guys, although we did have that guy, the guy Atlantean, or I forget the name of their city that they changed it to, fighting Okoye. That was cool, but a lot of people will say, hey, that's just women beating on men. We also had Shuri beating up on Namor. It's just a lot of people find reasons to hate this movie, and I just want to be clear that even though I'm ranking it at number 3, this movie is still really good. A lot of people talk about the grief and the heaviness that comes with that. I didn't really think it was super heavy, but probably as much as most people did. I have dealt with loss in my life, which a lot of people say if you dealt with loss in your life, this movie is really going to touch you. I don't know about all that, but I think this movie is still worth 3rd. And it's probably maybe a high B tier, low A tier overall Marvel movie. Despite what everyone says, I do like the struggles that Shuri has as a character. I do like us seeing the Atlantean city. I really, honestly, personally, I don't like Wakanda being found outside of Vibranium. So I don't like Vibranium being found out outside of Wakanda. And I'm just not a big fan of that. Vibranium, is that the one? I get them. Oh yeah, I thought I was saying adamantium, which is Wolverine's claws. There's so many magical metals in Marvel Comics, you would not believe it. But yeah, I just want to be clear, despite all the hate that they get because this is a black movie, despite all the hate that they get because this is a female-led movie, despite all the hate that they get because they made the Atlanteans Hispanic or Native American, I guess they're not Hispanic because they don't speak Spanish, so I guess they will be Native American. Sorry if that's unclear or offensive or whatnot. But despite all the hate that they are giving this movie, Black Panther Wakanda Forever is definitely worth a watch, and I can see myself rewatching this movie just like Shang-Chi. Up next, I know we spent a lot of time on Black Panther, but it is the latest movie, so that's why I wanted to just give a quick little review. Up next, we're going to have Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I know a lot of people hated this movie, but me, and this is my list, I love this movie. I thought it was amazing. This was an amazing movie. I love the different universes, timelines, all of that stuff. Me personally, I love alternate timelines, space, time travel. I love all of that stuff, and we get a lot of that in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I love Wanda as a villain. I wish they would have just committed to it and killed her off at the end, even though it looks like she's still alive. I wish they would have just done that, because after all she's done, I wouldn't trust her as a good guy anymore. Like, I know we have bad guys who become good guys or anti-heroes, but when your character arc goes backwards, so say you start positive and you go negative, I think it's hard to really be invested in someone who goes down from up and then going up. Whereas if you see someone down and they become good, it's a little different. But that's just me personally. I think this movie is amazing. I don't have any complaints about Doctor Strange, Sam Raimi, Elizabeth Olsen, sorry. I don't know who Olivia is. It's hard keeping up with so many names in real life also. I do this a lot, and there's a lot of names. Or America's character, I thought it could have gone differently without her. I know originally she was supposed to be in No Way Home, and they cut her and they put her in Doctor Strange. But I like her. I think she's a good little MacGuffin, and that's messed up to say that she's a MacGuffin, but she is. She's the MacGuffin of the plot, and everything is tied together off of her, and her honestly learning how to use her powers due to emotions. I mean, sure, it happens, but it always feels disingenuous whenever it happens. Regardless of that, this is still my number 2 pick. I like this movie. I thought it was going to be hard to surpass the first Doctor Strange, even though I was a fan of it and most people weren't. Most people weren't a fan of the first Doctor Strange. I liked it. This movie was way better than that movie, honestly. This is definitely an A-tier movie in my mind, no doubt, whereas Black Panther Wakanda Forever was kind of borderline A-tier, B-tier. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is definitely A-tier. If you're keeping track, there's only been 7 movies, so you probably know what number 1 is going to be. I am the biggest Spider-Man fan in the world, been a fan since I was a kid. My mother got me the Spider-Man shower curtains, pillowcases, bed sheets, all of that. I love Spider-Man, and being able to see all 3 Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, Tom Holland, all in one movie, live action, with the return of Green Goblin and Dr. Octopus. Yo, sign me up. This movie is amazing. I haven't seen the more fun stuff, which has like 11 more minutes of content, which I'm really mad about, because I would have waited for that physical disc, and I've already bought the original Blu-ray for Spider-Man No Way Home, so I'm pretty annoyed by that. And yeah, I bought the movie because I like it. I have all the Spider-Man movies either physically or digital, and reason that I really got this one is because, you know, Spider-Man is harder to watch than those other movies. Those other movies, Doctor Strange, Shang-Chi, Thor, all of those movies are going to be on Disney+. And Spider-Man is not, which is unfortunate because it is the best Phase 4 movie. And I honestly don't think it's close. I don't think it's close, whereas I'd probably give Doctor Strange a low A. Spider-Man No Way Home is like a high A, if not S tier. I really can't complain about this movie. I wish they hadn't killed Aunt May, but I see why they did it, and I respect them for doing so. And they're basically rebooting Spider-Man. Like, he's nobody, has no friends, no family, no one remembers him. He doesn't have Iron Man to lean on, he doesn't have Doctor Strange to lean on, he doesn't have Mysterio to lean on. None of that. And I think that's going to be so amazing to see in the next Spider-Man movie. Thank you guys for sticking tuned. That's all 7 MCU Phase 4 movies ranked. If you want to see more content like this, I definitely recommend subscribe. I really appreciate any support that you want to drop down below, such as likes, comments, let me know, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.
I love the hustle, man. I be feeling like one of them ball playing, like Bird or Magic or something. But if I leave, the fans still gonna love me, man?